Hello, biology students! Today we're going to be talking about viruses. Are they alive or not? Ooh, are they zombies or creatures? What are viruses? They make us sick, but what are they? Let's jump in. So what is a virus? Well, we've heard of a lot of viruses, and sometimes we get them confused with bacteria, so we've got to make sure we get that straight now. And a virus is really just microscopic particles, meaning little pieces of stuff, and they invade cells, meaning they're not supposed to be in those cells. So if we are getting a virus, that virus is made of little microscopic things, right? Notice I didn't call it a cell, and it takes over some of my cells. Yuck, right? Things like the flu, all right, are a virus. We're going to learn lots of examples. And notice that I said it is not a cell. And it's not. Wait, if it's not a cell, is it alive? Dun, dun, dun! I guess we're going to find out. So notice, no cell wall, has some proteins, has some DNA or RNA. Weird, right? Let's learn more about it. So what is it made of? I saw some common patterns there. Well, those particles tend to be mostly DNA or RNA, the genetic material. Some have a little bit of both. Some just have one or the other. And usually the virus is surrounded by proteins, and that allows for the virus to enter a cell. Those proteins kind of open up through a lock and key kind of puzzle piece matching with your cells, and that outer protein is called a capsid. So here's an example of one that's in the news a lot, and hopefully you haven't had too many times, the flu virus. The flu virus actually has RNA on the inside, and we can see something that kind of looks like a cell membrane, but it's not quite. And on the outside, we see these blue proteins. And those proteins are what I was saying work kind of like a lock and a key, and they help the virus get into your cells. Ooh. All right, let's learn more. So again, so far, are we feeling like viruses are alive or not? Well, let's think about what they have. Things that they have. The viruses did have genetic material, right? DNA and RNA. The virus can evolve. Right? So viruses, they mutate and they change over time, which is why you could get the flu multiple times because it's a different version of the flu. Well, but they don't have other certain things. And remember, to be a living thing, they have to have all 8 characteristics of living things, which we know as the mnemonic hog racer. Hog racer. So let's see. They don't have cells. Wait, that mnemonic hog racer. Is cells part of hog racer? Yes, it's the C in hog racer. Wait, viruses don't have it. Can they be alive? Oh, they can't use their own energy. They have to zap energy from the host or the cell they're invading. That's the E in hog racer. So now they're missing C and E. So are they alive? No! Viruses are not actually living things. So bizarre, right? We don't consider viruses alive. I know they seem kind of alive, but they're not. Although they can reproduce and they can get inside of a living thing, they need that living thing, you or whatever they're invading, called a host, to be able to survive. And because they can't really do things without that living thing, they are not themselves alive. Dun, dun, dun. Let's learn some examples. So the ones that we hear about most in the news are the flu. Sometimes we also hear about the HIV virus, all right, which is related to having AIDS, right? HIV positive can lead to autoimmune deficiency, which is AIDS. We also hear about rhinovirus, the cold. Other things that we hear about in the news are chicken pox, which we try to get vaccinated against so we don't get it. We should probably be getting vaccines for the flu. We'll talk about vaccines in the future, especially since why aren't we getting vaccines for the cold? Or can we get vaccines for HIV? Right? Isn't that weird? So let's talk about vaccines. Vaccines are really our only defense against viruses. And how do they work? Well, vaccine includes in the needle a weakened or killed virus. And I know that sounds scary, but they're tested, and that virus cannot do anything long term to you because it's weakened or killed. It doesn't fully function. Okay? And the way it works, your body notices that that virus is in the vaccine, and it says, "Oh, foreign invader! Mount defenses! Get the body's military ready." And the body's defenses are antibodies, and they begin to attack this easy-to-kill virus because it might be dead. Right? I know it's not alive, but it's not functional. So it's really easy for the body to say, "Get rid of it," right? And now your body can recognize the virus if it comes to your body again. So if you're exposed to that same flu virus that you just got a vaccine for, your body will say, "Oh, I recognize that thing. We have sensors for that." And your body will be able to destroy it pretty fast, which is really great because then you don't get sick, okay? And so things like chickenpox, polio, we have vaccines for them. But why don't we have vaccines for everything, right? If this is so good, why don't we have vaccines for everything? Well, the problem is we can't make vaccines for everything, and it does take a long time to make a vaccine. So vaccines only work against viruses that have proteins that don't change, right? That have proteins that don't mutate often. So for instance, these things that we get childhood vaccines for, smallpox, measles, polio, things that actually killed people a couple decades ago. Those things killed people. It's really important that you get a vaccine for them, right? Not everyone can get vaccines because some people are allergic to the egg in the vaccine. So everyone else needs to get the vaccine to protect those people who have allergies. But those things, they don't change very often, those viruses. So we have vaccines that work really well against them, all right? However, HIV, cold, the flu, those things, they change a lot. For instance, the flu and the cold, every year there's multiple versions of colds and the flu going around. Now, the flu vaccine is still really important to get because in the past, people have died from the flu. Even really young or sick people die from the flu in current times. And the flu vaccine targets the most common versions of the flu out there. And flu can really dehydrate you and make you sick for a long time. And so it's really important to try to get that flu vaccine. And even if you still get the flu, if you had the vaccine, you usually don't get it as bad. All right, so vaccines, super important. Wow. So we're going to talk about how these viruses that are non-living work different than bacteria in a future notes. Make sure you kind of try to compare the two because it's easy to get them confused. But viruses are not alive. Talk to you guys later. Great job.